Elizabeth. Thank you so much for being here for our first video interview. I'm so excited. To kick us off, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
I work in residential interior design. I have my own design firm that's been open since 2012. So I work majority in the high-end sector, but myself, I am not in the super high-end sector. So I, have a pretty good balance when it comes to finding ways to do interiors affordably and then also in the no budget sense. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds for me. I think a lot of people maybe have had bad experiences that a designer is going to come into their house and just judge everything. I definitely try to buck that trend and maybe that mindset, because that's not why we're there. You've got to have an appreciation for everybody's style and the way that all different people use their homes and their various reasons for why you may have done something that doesn't make sense to someone else. But design should be pretty, but almost more importantly, it should be really functional.
2021 design trends. What are you seeing and what are you excited about?
So the first one is color. So we're seeing a lot more color, a lot less of the just all gray, neutral, kind of monochromatic spaces. You need something cheery and bright at home. And since you're home all the time, adding color is just a really nice way to have a little bright spot where you are. Yellows are in and haven't really been really in for a while. So that's kind of fun. It's cheery, it's sunny, it's good for your mood. I'm totally there for that. This is very specific, but like a raspberry color, the in between red and pink, is another like happy color.
I am in love personally with Benjamin Moore's color of the year, Aegean teal. I might have a painting project for that color because
Nice.
my house, like most houses, is very monochromatic. So we'll give that room a little pop of color.
In prints, we're seeing cheetah in clothes everywhere, and I'm a big fan of that. But I think we're going to see more animal stuff. The nice thing about how we're doing animal now, it's all of these variations on the animal look, and some are sort of abstract, and some are a lot of them are all different colorways, and so it doesn't feel so jungle trendy. So that's my prediction on where we're going. We'll see, but I think everyone's enjoying it enough. We'll just keep it coming.
Kitchens are always on everyone's mind. Everyone wants a beautiful kitchen. So do I. For people who are considering kitchen renovations this year, what trends are you seeing in kitchens?
The trend I'm seeing the most is more open shelving in the kitchen. So less like walls of cabinets and more, and breaking that up a little bit with open shelving in a different finish than the rest of your kitchen, or just like a more open space, which is kind of nice. Has pros and cons. For a smaller space, having open shelving makes the space feel a little bit bigger. It's also not as storage friendly, so you kind of have to like weigh the pros and cons of that. I personally haven't really been doing any of that concept. It's not that practical, and I think we'll see that kind of disappearing. For the most part, I'm still just putting in like really classic kitchens. Still in neutrals, maybe a bright color on an island or a bar or something like that. We're still seeing a lot of the white quartzites go in. So still wanting that marble look without the marble maintenance. So those materials are getting harder and harder to snag before someone else gets them too. So I'm like checking slab stock almost daily, and like holding on to slabs as soon as I find some good ones.
Since we're all working from home all the time, everybody's thinking about workspaces. So if somebody's thinking of either creating a workspace at home or they need a workspace makeover, where do you recommend they start and how do you recommend they think about that process?
Homes are being turned into more than just workspaces too. They're being turned into daycare if you have children. They're being turned into, you're using your home more. And so it's hard, especially in a smaller space, to find a place for all those things that you didn't need before. If you've got a 2 or 3 bedroom house, consult maybe getting rid of your guest room, and now that's a workspace or a kid space, or like moving the kids in together in order to have a playroom, like a dedicated playroom to kind of keep them out of your hair. If the dining room has turned into your workspace, what do we really need more? Do we really need a kid space more because they don't get to get out as much? Like, is that going to benefit the whole family more than me having an office, all to myself? Or, is having the dining room be my office wearing me down because I, have to clean up everything at the end of the day to use it as school or as like your actual dining room? Is that wearing you down more? It's like finding where that priority should be. I think it just comes down to organization. So maybe adding things in so that you have more purposeful items that are, this is where your workspace, this is my workspace, just finding some place to claim as your own.
I need to sort of carve out a new workspace for myself. So that's something I'm thinking about now, is where can I find a dedicated little space for myself?
And sort of prioritize that. We've done that in our own home, which is a tiny little bungalow. And we've, we had a little office, and we've decided, my husband can find a space in the bedroom for his desk, but our children have to go somewhere during the day. We have to get the toys and the clutter out of being everywhere. And so that was more important to us than having his office space. When there's stuff everywhere, it kind of just makes you, it's just a low stress, just a constant low stress to see it everywhere. So maybe it won't be how we keep our homes forever, but it's this maybe semi-temporary reconfiguration. It's a little hard to figure out, but definitely doable if you just kind of switch your thinking around a little bit.
What about bathrooms? Are there any big trends happening with bathrooms this year?
The biggest trend that I'm seeing is in bathtubs. Whether it's a little space or a big space, everyone wants a tub that's like actually comfortable, because we all need a place to go. And if you don't, to unwind after these hectic days we're having, and if you're home all day, it's like a little maybe oasis to go to. So I've climbed in so many different bathtubs over the past 6 months in various showrooms. I'll be like sitting in a tub thinking, what does she do here? Is she watching a movie? Is she reading a book? Like, is this a good recline? We're squeezing them in where we can find them, even if it's a little tub. And all the older tubs that are like shallower and maybe too short anyways, trying to find ways to improve upon how comfortable those spaces are. I'm seeing more recycled materials, which is really nice, which adds a level of complication to find those things. But I love a good challenge, so I'm happy to find them, and I'm always happy to kind of build up my repertoire of new sources that I hadn't used before.
Are the green materials mostly like tiles and different kinds of countertops, or are you seeing other things too?
Mostly in tile. It's hard to go green with plumbing, and you don't really want to reuse old plumbing for a lot of different reasons. But in light fixtures too, just in repurposing older fixtures, maybe putting like a powder coat finish on them. And so they're a color now, or they are a different finish entirely, like a different metal finish. That's been another way, like a recycle.
You're a designer. You're in this all the time, sitting in bathtubs, looking at samples. So you're sort of a trendsetter in your own way. What trend are you hoping to start in 2021?
Personally, I want to see the office have its moment in homes, it seems like our offices have been sort of afterthoughts for the most part because people get to go to work. And I find work to be stressful at times, but also kind of an oasis for me. And I want to have a space that's my space. I want to be a little bit selfish about having my office space to do my work, which is fulfilling to me and helps make me a better parent too when I've had another outlet sort of away from the children. So I think maybe out of necessity in some ways, but I think I'd like to see some really cool offices going in and some parents maybe being a little more selfish about finding that space for themselves. We had like a little cottage made, like a little tiny house made for our backyard so that I could be away from the children during the day and hearing their noises. And, you know, initially it was so disarming not to hear like a dryer in the background or anything. But gosh, I mean, just such a big difference with my mentality and ability to focus.
Everybody wants to do projects since they're home. It's really hard to get materials, appliances, all those things because of shipping delays, production delays, just general pandemic related delays. So for people who are thinking about projects or renovations in the near future, what advice do you have from them and where do you recommend they start?
Order everything now. Once you find that fridge that you like or the dishwasher that you know you've researched for 3 hours and you're sure this is the one, like order it in that minute because it won't come next week when it says it will come, especially in appliances, just like months and months out. I mean, I have a kitchen that we did in August is still waiting on their refrigerator drawers.
Wow.
Yeah. Appliance decisions are big because if you're doing cabinetry, it's all going to be based off the sizes of those appliances. And 36 doesn't always mean 36. It could mean 36 and a half. And then all your cabinets wouldn't fit right in your kitchen. So like pick those appliances and then do your cabinets.
I had a client who recently redid a kitchen and she ended up going with all white appliances because that was the only thing she could get quickly. And it still looks great and it's nice and it's totally functional, but it's not what she would have done if she could have gotten anything she wanted.
That flexibility is key to have now. We've all got to keep a sense of humor and maybe putting things in perspective and saying, you know, I really wish my kitchen weren't going to have to wait with an empty hole for refrigerator drawers for 4 months, but I have a working kitchen. It's new. I like it. It's got almost everything done. You know, be patient and try to just be like, this is a kitchen. This is small in the scheme of things. More times than I like care or could even count, I've had to say, it's just tile. It's just tile. You know, let's think about what this really means in your life. Everyone's safe. Everyone's healthy, hopefully, you know, so
right.
Just trying to keep that perspective. It's hard. It's way easier said than done, especially in a renovation.
How do you know when you should bring someone like you, a designer, into the project and, you know, sort of make it easier on yourself?
If you can't get a clear idea of what you want and you're struggling with that, that's one good time to bring a designer in. And if it's a really big renovation that's going to need some project management or some maybe hand-holding with a contractor that's overbooked himself, which, you know, we're kind of running into, the designer's good for that too. Because they're so familiar with this process. So something that may be really stressful for you when your tile guy is asking about a grout joint and you're like, all right, well, let me research grout joints really fast. You know, the designer could answer that question in a minute, you know, a text. Right. And you designers don't have to be expensive either. You can find a designer that works on an hourly rate and you have to see that person as an expert. So she's got this, or he has this huge bank of knowledge that usually we can sort through, your Pinterest board, see things that you're drawn to that you didn't really realize you're drawn to, and give you 3 choices just like that. And honestly, could save you money because you may not know a good source for something, or you may just be stuck on a finish or a cabinet or a countertop that you love, but you don't know that there's one that's really similar or a source that has it, and $2,000 later you've paid a designer $500 and you've saved $2,000, like it, and a little bit of stress too. There's a misconception that a designer is going to try to upsell you something or talk you into spending more than you wanted to, when that may be the case in some instances, but a good designer will look at what you need, be respectful of your budget, and that designer should have plenty of resources to offer you a lot of different price points or options, just like your real estate agent should be on your team. It shouldn't be someone you're worried about. And if you are worried about them, just find a different designer. You shouldn't be worried that they're doing something not in your best interest, in the background that you don't know about.
Well, I'm ready for you to come redecorate my whole house, redo my kitchen and all my bathrooms. So we'll talk about that later. But in the meantime, for all the people who are watching this who are like, oh, I love Elizabeth, I want to talk to her more, where can they find you online or otherwise?
My design company is Elizabeth Horne Design. My website is elizabethhornedesign.com, and you can find me on Instagram